You've probably seen a bunch of prison break movies, right? Well, this isn't Hollywood. Today, we're getting into the absolutely wild, true story of YoshieShiratori, Japan's most famous escape artist, a guy who didn't just break out of prison, he basically broke the laws of what should be possible.
4. Just let that sink in for a second. That's the number of supposedly inescapable prisons he broke out of. And we're not talking about some low-security local jails. No, these were maximum security fortresses, each one designed to be tougher than the last. He beat all of them.
So, that brings us to the big question, the one you're probably asking right now. How? How on earth does one man defeat entire systems, designed by experts, over and over again? Well, that's what we're about to find out.
Okay, so to really get how he did it, you gotta understand the man himself. And here's the thing. He wasn't some kind of criminal mastermind or a hardened killer. He was, at his core, just an ordinary man who believed he was wronged and just absolutely refused to be broken. So, YoshieShiratori, he started out as a pretty small-time crook, a petty thief, a bit of a gambler, but then he got framed for a robbery that turned into a murder he had nothing to do with. Facing a brutal system that just wouldn't listen, he decided that the only way he could ever prove his innocence was to get out.
All right, so let's get into the escapes themselves. His first two, they're really where he started learning the ropes, you know? They were kind of like his training ground for figuring out how to outsmart any system they could throw at him.
His first breakout from Armory Prison, this was pure, old-school cleverness. He studied the guards for months, just watching and waiting, until he found this tiny 15-minute window in their patrols. He used a piece of wire he'd snagged to pick multiple locks, and, get this, he even closed the doors behind him to buy himself more time. He even left a decoy in his bed. I mean, come on, that's straight out of a movie.
So, naturally, he gets caught again. And this time, the authorities were not playing around. They put him in this special cell at a Quito prison. Just picture this, silky smooth copper walls you can't get a grip on, one tiny little window way up on the ceiling, and to top it all off, he's in handcuffs 24/7. This was supposed to be it. Game over.
So how do you beat a cell like that? Well, night after night, he'd secretly pick his cuffs, and then he'd just practice. He practiced climbing those impossible, slippery walls. All the while, he's slowly, methodically loosening the window frame. Then he waits for the perfect cover, a massive rainstorm, and poof, he's up, out, and gone through the roof.
But here's where the story takes a really interesting turn. Instead of just running for the hills, Shiratori went looking for the one guard, a guy named Kobayashi, who had ever treated him with kindness. He wanted to surrender to him. He just wanted someone who saw him as human to listen to his case. But Kobayashi panicked and called the cops. And that betrayal, it hardened Shiratori's resolve like nothing else. So after making a complete mockery of Akita's security, the authorities sent him to the absolute end of the line, Abashiri Prison. You gotta understand, this place was the stuff of nightmares. It was Japan's Alcatraz, a frozen fortress that no one had ever escaped from.
And just look at the odds here. It's almost comical. In one corner, Japan's most secure prison, with shoot-on-sight orders and these insane 20-kilo custom shackles. And in the other corner, you got Shiratori. His tools, a daily bowl of soup, inhuman patience, an unbreakable will, and, oh yeah, the ability to dislocate his own shoulders.
It sounds like a joke, right? How in the world do you defeat an iron fortress with a bowl of soup? Well, this is where the legend goes from just incredible to flat-out unbelievable.
He used basic chemistry. Every single day, he'd spit just a little bit of his salty miso soup onto the bolts of his shackles and the iron food slot on his door. He did this for 8 months. The salt just slowly corroded the metal, eating it away from the inside. Then, during a citywide blackout for an air raid drill, he snapped the corroded shackles, broke the weakened food slot, and did the unthinkable. He dislocated his own shoulders to squeeze his body through an opening barely the size of his head. It's just insane.
He didn't just escape Abashiri. He became a living myth, the first and to this day the only person to ever break out of that place. The authorities were left completely stunned.
So he's free for nearly 2 years, but then he's caught again, and this time it's serious. He accidentally killed a farmer who attacked him. For the system, this was the last straw. For that, and for all his escapes, YoshieShiratori was sentenced to death.
This landed him on death row in Sapporo Prison, in a cell they literally built just for him. We're talking solid steel everything, with 6 guards watching his every move. They'd learned from the Abashiri escape, so this time the window was too small for even his head to fit through. Knowing he couldn't beat the physical security, Shiratori switched tactics. His new weapon was psychology.
This is just brilliant. For months, he would just lie there staring intently at the ceiling. That's it. The guards, thinking he was planning another roof escape, focused all their attention upwards. They never thought to check the floor. While they were busy watching the ceiling, Shiratori was hidden under his mattress, using his soup bowl to dig a tunnel straight down and out. It was his final, most incredible act of misdirection.
Now, after this 4th incredible escape, you'd think he'd be gone for good, right? But something changed. He was free, but he was tired of running. His final chapter isn't about an escape at all. It's about a choice.
So after nearly a year on the run, exhausted and alone, the great chase ended, not with a bang, but with a quiet moment. In 1948, Shiratori was just sitting on a park bench when a police officer happened to sit down next to him. And this time, Shiratori didn't run. He just sat there.
And this is the moment that ended the chase. The officer, not even recognizing him, simply offered him a cigarette, a real luxury in post-war Japan. After years of brutality, this one small, unexpected act of humanity just broke his will to fight. He confessed who he was and gave himself up.
And this time, the courts actually listened. His case was retried, and the farmer's death was ruled self-defense. The judge even pointed out that in all of his escapes, Shiratori had never once harmed a guard. His death sentence was overturned, and he peacefully served his new sentence in a prison where the guards finally treated him with respect.
He was paroled in 1961 and finally walked out the front door, a free man. He reunited with his daughter and lived out the rest of his days quietly, his incredible legend far outliving his desire to run.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question. His methods were extraordinary, and what he did was, of course, illegal. So was he just a criminal? Or was he something more, a symbol of the unbreakable human spirit refusing to be crushed by a system it believed was unjust? What do you think?